So how to approach the 90-word writing task. The 90-word writing task is obviously on the writing paper, and it's the last question for the foundation paper students, and it's the first question on the higher paper. Okay, so it's called a crossover question because the same question is on both papers. Your first decision is which one you're going to do, because you always have two options. Okay, so on the foundation paper, where it's the last question, it'll be either 4.1 or 4.2. On the higher paper, obviously, it'll be 1.1 or 1.2. And it will say on the exam question, you must not answer both of these questions. So your first decision is which one am I going to answer? So very briefly, have a quick read through both of the questions. Look at the theme if it talks about vacances or école or famille, and decide which theme do you think you know more about. Which one do I understand all of the bullet points for? Okay, once you've chosen the question that you're going to do, we need to have a little look at it in a little bit more detail. Very often, the rubric at the top says vous décrivez vos vacances ou votre famille or votre école pour votre blog. You can generally ignore this line. It's talking about you're going to write about your holidays, about your school, about your family for your blog or to your French friend or anything like that. It's just telling you they're going to write something. And then you will have your 4 bullet points. Okay, so going through our 4 bullet points, we need to make sure we know exactly what they mean. So, votre destination de vacances préférée. So we see we're talking about holidays, vacances. Destination, so it's the place that you go to, the destination, and préférée, so favorite. So your favorite holiday destination. Okay? This is clearly asking for your opinion. I like going to France because I like to eat ice cream. I like to visit Italy because I like to eat pizza. Okay? Vos activités en vacances. Okay? Activité is your key word there. And so this bullet point is looking for a description. So it wants you to describe your activities on holiday. So on holiday, I like to play football with my family. On holiday, I go to the restaurant with my friends. I like to eat pizza. Okay? Now, bullet points 3 and 4 always include tenses. And your key word here is récente, des vacances récentes. So récente obviously means recent. So it's talking about the past tense. So your recent holidays. So this is the bullet point where you need to get in at least 3 examples of the past tense to prove that you can use the past tense accurately. And bullet point number 4, où vous voulez visiter à l'avenir, your key bit there is à l'avenir, in the future. And où vous voulez visiter means where would you like to visit, so à l'avenir. So this is talking about the future or the conditional, either or. So I would like to visit Italy in the future, or I'm going to visit France in the future. Okay, you could use future or conditional here, or maybe you might choose to use both. And then it's always the same on every question. It says écrivez environ 90 mots. Okay, so approximately 90 words. Okay, you can write about 80, you can write up to about 100. There is no point in writing more than 100 words because the more you write, the more chance of mistakes you have. So try and keep it to approximately 20 to 30 words per bullet point. You don't have to write the same amount for each bullet point. You could write one sentence for one bullet point and 4 sentences for the other, but it is very important that you respond to every aspect of the question. So it's very important that you write at least one sentence for each bullet point. Ideally, you'd probably write about 3 extended sentences for each bullet point. Don't go over the top, don't write too much, don't write over 100 words because you're just creating more chance for mistakes. So once we've figured out what our questions mean and we've figured out what the examiner is looking for in each bullet point, then we need to do a little bit of planning. This planning should take us no more than 5 minutes. So in my first one, I know that I'm giving my opinion and the bullet point is votre destination de vacances préférée. Now the first thing I need to do is, instead of saying votre destination, which means your destination, I need to change it to ma destination because I want to talk about my favourite destination. So my first sentence will be ma destination de vacances préférée, my favourite destination of a holiday, est, and then I'll just put a country on the end of it. And I'll choose a country that I know. I'll choose maybe France because it's easy, or Italy because it's easy. Okay? And then I'm going to think about some reasons why, because I'm giving my opinion. So I'm going to choose France because it's an easy word to say. À mon avis, just because I'm giving my opinion, and that's a good way to say. I could also say je trouve que, or je pense que. And then I want to avoid adjectives that are too simple, like intéressant. So I'm going to use this one, pittoresque, because I think that France is very beautiful. And then when you're giving your opinion, it's really nice to extend your sentence. So, je préfère la France parce que il fait beau. So it's really nice to extend your sentence by using parce que and giving a reason. Okay? It would be wonderful if you could give a comparison. Maybe you could say something like France is more picturesque than England. How would you say more than? I'll leave that one with you. You think about that. Next, we're going to come on to our description. So we want to be able to use some present tense verbs. So I've just made a few lists. So j'aime. And instead of je n'aime pas, I've put je ne suis pas fan de, just because I want to make my language a little bit more interesting. And present tense, je joue. So I've got 3 present tense verbs. One is in the negative to make things a little bit more different. And then I want to think about my activities. Now, I want to avoid the easy activities, and if I can think of any that are a little bit more interesting, I'm going to use them. So here I've used la planche à voile and l'escalade, so windsurfing and climbing. To be quite honest, I've never done windsurfing or climbing on a holiday ever. However, I'm going to use them in my French 90-word question because they're interesting vocabulary and they're going to show the examiner that I know these fancy words. If you don't know them and you just want to say le foot and le tennis, then by all means go ahead and use those easier ones. And I've just made a little list of present tense time phrases that I know. So I've put normalement, normally, and de temps en temps, from time to time. You might use ones like d'habitude, usually, or souvent, often, just some time phrases to make our sentences a little bit more interesting and to extend them. Now, we're going to move on to our past tense question now. So we're talking about des vacances récentes. So I need to think, which verbs can I conjugate accurately in the past tense? And I want to make a little list of at least 3. Ideally, they won't all be beginning with je. I want to mix it up a little bit. So ideally, I might have an I and I might have a we in the past tense. And also, I won't have all of them with avoir. So I'll show you what I've thought about. I've thought about je suis allée, so I went, because I'm using être here. Also, I need to remember that I'm a girl, so I'm going to add an extra E. If you're not a girl, you won't have that extra E. I know that manger is quite easy. I use it with avoir, so I'm going to use that one. I know how to do it. I'm pretty happy with that. And I know as well that nager, I can form nager, and I know how to say nous avons nagé. So here, I've got 3 past tenses, 1 with être, 2 with avoir, and 1 of them is using nous. So I've got a nice mix to show that I know how to form that. I know what I'm doing. I might use récemment because they've asked about recent holidays. So I'm including this time phrase. You might include the time phrase l'année dernière, last year, or le mois dernier, last month. And then I'm just putting France, croissant, and swimming pool, just so I've got some vocab to use here. And then future or conditional. So where you would like to visit in the future. So I need to think about that, and I need to do the same thing. I want to be able to use 3 different verbs minimum that I can conjugate correctly in the future or the conditional, and I wanted to see if I can mix them up a bit, if I can avoid saying je all the time. Also, I want to choose a country that I know how to say in French. If I really want to go to the Caribbean, but I don't know how to say it in French, I forget about it. If you do know how to say Italy, for example, because it's easy, you say Italy. Okay, so I've chosen to say Italy because I can, it's easy. I'd love to go to the Seychelles, but I'm not going to say that because it's too complicated for my French exam, and the examiner doesn't really care. They want to know, do I know some French vocabulary? And then I've made a list of 4 verbs here. So, je voudrais visiter. So I would like to visit, 2 verbs together. The second is in the infinitive. I've got a conditional. I would like to visit. Now I want to show off that I know this conditional ending. And instead of saying je voudrais again, I've changed it up a little bit and I've said j'aimerais. I would love to see. Okay, I could mix these around. I could say again, je voudrais voir again, but I want to show that I know some different endings. And now I want to show the examiner also that I can use the future tense. So I've said je vais manger, 2 verbs together, the second in the infinitive. I am going to eat. And as my last little show off, I want to show the examiner that I can also do the future tense in a different person. So I've used nous in the past tense, so now I'm going to try using ma mère or elle. So ma mère va manger. So I'm going to do that in the future. Ma mère va manger, my mum is going to eat. If I can't do that, I won't do it. It's very important to do the verbs that I know how to conjugate accurately. In the next video, I'm going to show you how I'm going to put all these notes together and to create my text.